Hello, and welcome to the Frivolous and Frugal Knitting Podcast. We are two sisters who share our fondness for knitting, the things that we create, and the love we have for the knitting community. And we do it all with a little twist of both the frivolous and the frugal. I am Frivolous Dawn, and in our family's birth order, I am the fourth of 8 children.
And I'm Frugal Miss Penny. I am the oldest of the 8. And our behind the scenes statistician is our dear sister, Faithful Nikki, and she is third in the birth order. We just want to give you a hearty shout out. Oh, it's not starting well. A hearty shout out to our returning viewers. Thank you so much for joining us for yet another episode of Frivolous and Frugal. As always, I hope that you can glean a nugget or two from our fiber journeys. And for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, we are so glad you found us. We really do hope that you learned something, which is why we share both the good, the bad, the beautiful, and the ugly. So why don't you grab your knitting, your favorite note-taking device, and your sense of humor, because we're ready to start episode 62. Take it away, Dawn.
Stop the press. What is behind you? It is what we have been waiting for.
You are so funny, but truly, this is all you're doing. As you all know, I have been working on the Wingspan. It has been character calisthenics for me, as my sister-in-law would call it. We finally got it blocked. It's been finished, and I just didn't want to block it. But if you don't mind, Dawn, I'm going to talk more about that in finished objects, because we want to talk about that blocking process and what happened. But anyway, it's Wingspan by Kyle Vey.
Yeah. And it is beautiful.
Well, you're the one who stretched it till it squealed.
Well, we did stretch it.
We did. It was a group effort.
All right. Well, what's around my neck is our current knit along. This is the Sweet Little Nothing by Susan DeBettignies. I don't know if I say that right. Or she is Pink Shawl Girl on Ravelry. So I just finished that the last couple of days. I'll bring it up a little closer so you can see the colors in the gradient. The yarn is KnitCircus Trampoline base. That's 100% superwash merino. Oh gosh, the colorway is interesting. Where did I put it? Oh, it's under finished objects.
It is.
It's something about take me to the zoo speckled or something like that.
That's what it is. Take me to the zoo.
Oh, and it is.
Or no, put me in the zoo.
Put me, no, you might want one. Exactly. Put me there. US 4. I followed the pattern exactly. I had like 3.6 grams left. So that is good for me. I did add the beads. I used the little crochet hook method to put the beads on. And so I like it. It is long, but you know what? I like that you can have this here, but it's not a lot of bulk. Mm-hmm. So I can see why people knit several of these. But yeah, I like it a lot. It's a fingering weight, 400 yards. Yeah, I like it. Good job, Pink. Nice pattern.
Very cool. And go ahead.
Oh, I was going to ask if there was anything else around your neck that I just can't see, or.
Well, yeah, it came off because it triggered a personal summer, and it was a humid summer. And so I took it off because I couldn't even breathe. Actually, it's just changing light. You've all seen it before. It is a pattern that was written by Jennifer Weissman. We did it, Dawn, I'm going to say a year or so ago. I knit this out of Suburban Stitcher Sock in the cowl, Rorschach, and Sari Silk colorways on a US size 5. I gave it $4 signs on the Frugalometer for fiber and 2 for the pattern. It's a nice rectangular shawl. It's just too warm to wear it today.
Yeah, and that was a center start, because I think both of us kind of struggled a little bit when we cast it on that middle, if I remember right.
I'm trusting your memory because I don't remember it. I know I knit it, but I don't remember anything about it.
Chris, I bet that was our New Year's Day cast on 2 years ago. Well,
Okay,
we're in
whatever you
June,
say.
year and a half. Okay, I'll just make
Mhm.
up dates because who would know? All right.
Nobody would know. And in the scope of eternity, it's not a big deal.
Exactly. All right.
Hey, so what's Ruby sporting?
Well, knitting with the aunties on Friday night, they saw this on the back of my chair when I got up to go do something, and they said they've never seen it before. I'm not so sure or they don't remember
Oh,
it anyway. This is spring taper. This was one of the shawls in my brioche journey. I did it all because I wanted that border. I wanted to learn increases and decreases in brioche. So this is a class I took at Casting On, which is a knit shop in Appleton. And
beautiful.
the yarn is just kind of a combination. The darkest of the grays was Leading Men Fiber Arts. The lightest of the grays was ModeKnits in their Mode Luxe. It has a little bit of silk in it. And then these other two grays, it's a fun company. It's called Moo Roo Yarns.
Rue. That's too funny.
Now, don't look too close because this was a beginning brioche. But here's the funny story about this. About here is when COVID hit.
Okay.
So I had to learn this all by myself because classes had to cancel because of COVID. And that was the whole reason I took the class. So I learned a lot. This was a big shawl, 4 skeins, I think
Oh my
about
goodness.
1,800 maybe meters. I like it, but my color choices weren't the best. Like in this brioche section, you really can't see the contrast very well. Can't see it much better from the other side. So that's what I'm learning about brioche. Again, 2 grays up here. I'm not so sure you would know that until you see it closer. So for the lovely colors, I didn't get the bang for the buck. You see it best down here, of course.
Yes.
I like that high
and
contrast.
the bottom border.
Yeah.
Very nice contrast down there.
So just for fun, I put my camera on black and white, and took it no contrast. So I should have done that when I picked my yarns out.
Did you know to do that then?
No, probably not. Or if I did, I conveniently forgot it. So yeah, there's some brioche errors in here, but I guess that was just part of the process. I knew that heading in. Oh, let's see if you can see this. Do you see that nice black line?
Yes.
Going across here? That's a Vickle stitch, and I'd never done a Vickle. So it's a stitch that causes your stitches to go vertical as opposed to horizontal. Nope, I said it backwards. Your stitches go horizontal instead of vertical.
Vertical.
So I vickled.
You vickled. Very nice.
How many people can say that first thing in the morning? I vickled.
Oh yeah, we're gonna keep moving on that note. Yep.
All right. So what is on your needles?
Actually, right now, I recast on what we are lovingly calling the Kevin Costner sweater. It is the Inishmeane. It's by Rachel C. Brown. I frogged it all. Well, it was a cowl on our last podcast. And so at Dawn's suggestion, I've been knitting what I was going to frog. So I'm just knitting it right off the piece I'm frogging and recast it on, and I'm shaping it. I've never shaped a garment from a bottom up. Shaping, I think top down is a little bit more intuitive. I'm shaping bottom up because my son has an athletic V shape. And when I knit it the first time, it was just too big. I knit it the way the pattern said. It was really a stovepipe knit. And the hemmed, it has a turned hem on it, and it was just too big on him. His hips are too narrow. So he said, I'd like that smaller, the hem deeper and closer fitting up till you get to the chest. Pattern's not written that way. I don't know how to do it. And of course, I did not even look it up online. I just decided to go by intuition. So we'll see if I have to frog it a second time. But that's what I'm doing right now. So you can see it kind of, it's starting to get a little shape. You can see more over here on this side. But yeah.
Yeah, that is beautiful yarn.
It is. It is from the Fibre Company. It is the Arranmore base in the Glenvaugh Castle colorway. I'm knitting it on size 8 and 9. So that's what I had to use to get gauge. And I would say the yarn is 5 dollar signs on the Frugalometer, and the pattern was 1 because it's part, oh, no. I take that back. The pattern is $3 signs. I was
Okay.
thinking of the other sweater I knit for my other son. That was part of a book. So it received $1 sign.
Oh, wow. Remind me when we're done podcasting to talk to you about the other yarn you bought for that sweater.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I just saw a project that I thought would be fun. All right. I am starting a new project. It is called the 4-color marled cowl. I don't know if I'd have knit it had I just looked at the picture. Those are colors I generally wouldn't put together. It is a free pattern on Ravelry, and it was designed by Petra Breakstone. It is a shop model. I saw the shop model at Silver Thimble in Green Bay, and then now have been asked to teach the class. So it is a very simple cowl. You'll see that there's just some 1x1 ribbing at the top, and then it is the marling of yarns. So the yarn I was asked to do it in is by Berroco, and it is Berroco Quinoa. I think it's discontinued now. So, but it is a 91% cotton yarn. And do you see where it gets thick and thin? And because it's cotton, it's got little cotton slubbies in it. So you can kind of see the texture there. It gets kind of bumpy.
Yes. I like the color though. That's a beautiful red.
So all the colors are numbers. So they're on my project page, but this is kind of like a super light, just a tad bit taupey. And then red, surprise, surprise, the other colors are gray and black. So I'm just following the pattern where you start off holding 2 strands. Obviously in the beginning, both strands were this taupe color. Then you have a period where you hold 1 strand of the taupe and 1 of the red. And now I'm holding 2 of the red. I'm just going to go until I'm either out of yarn or the pattern is complete. It is a free pattern, so I would call that 1 on the Frugalometer. And the yarn, I probably call a 3. And you know, it's interesting when yarn companies discontinue yarns, because if you really like it, then you think you should try to find more of it because you know it's going to be gone. But then it's a little harder doing it as a shop model, because now you have a shop model that potentially in a year or so will not have yarn to support it. So they asked me to do another one too. And look at this. I had never seen this before. You buy it like this. It's by Opal, the same company that makes Zauer balls. And it's called Zauer Purlin. This is a total of 100 grams of fingering weight, and it's your fade, or your, what's the word I want? Gradient. So I'm going to start with pink and then work my way this way around and then end with the blue. Now they must have this in 6 different gradient colorways. Some grays, some yellows. Gosh, I've never seen it before.
I haven't either.
So I think I will do the same pattern, and then I will just have to, this is only a total of 100 grams. So it'll be interesting to see what I get with this as far as depth of a cowl, because I love like this length here. I'm not going to get that with either of these cowls, but yeah.
Interesting. Very nice for those who like gradients. Now, are those balled? I guess they are balled up. I don't know how you're going to unravel them. Don't do it now.
Oh no, see, there's just a little like elastic in there.
Got it. Okay, okay.
But as soon as you break that elastic, watch out, right? It's kind of like what happens if you have your bra too tight and then it lets go. Boom, lots of problems.
Stop. Stop. Go to your next project, please.
This is, so anyway, this will be fun, I think. All right. You have, you're monogamous. You don't have anything else on
Dawn's show today.
All right. I only have one other project that I'll talk about.
Although you have how many on your needles?
Well, unfortunately, I need to cast a few on today because of the June knit-alongs that start today. So I really only have 2 projects on my needles other than like my scrappy blanket and tenacity. So
You finished all the rest, you
I
wild
did. Yeah, it was
woman.
just a good week of finishing lots of little projects. Okay, so Miss Jen from Newfoundland, Jen Katz on Ravelry, asked me to knit the Musselburgh with her. It wasn't a double dog dare, but
It was an invitation.
it was. And of course, I can't say no. This is a pattern by Ysolda Tig. It is a paid for pattern on Ravelry. And I don't know why I get the biggest bang out of buying things with European dollars because I never know what I'm paying. So very popular pattern right now. It's a pattern where you pick the yarn you want and you pick the needle size to create the fabric that you want. And then based after you start it, so I'm literally just starting. So I'm using Magic Loop. I got to do that Emily Ockers cast on, which I think a lot of people just say is the pinhole cast on. I watched several YouTubes on it. I think that actually got its notoriety from Elizabeth Zimmerman, if I recall correctly. Anyway, so I'm doing my increases. So this will be the top of the hat. And then I'm only a few increases off, and then you just knit a long tube until you're about out of yarn, and then you do the decreases. And then this hat slips inside of itself. The yarn I picked is, look at that red. That is
beautiful.
That is showing true to color. It is Malabrigo sock in the Ravelry red colorway, and this is stash. So this is a win-win.
Wow.
So I'm using fingering weight. The only little clue, if you will, that she says in the pattern is if you're using fingering weight yarn, go up a couple of sizes larger than you would like if you were knitting a sock. So I usually knit my socks on a 1, so this is a US 3. Once I get all of my increases done, I'm going to switch over to a 16-inch circular.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, and then I'm just hoping that is mindless stockinette knitting. But I just think this is going to be cute, and it's going to need a big old white pom-pom. Yeah. So the Musselburgh hat, I would call that 4 on the Frugalometer when I did the US conversion. And yeah. Whew. And Malabrigo sock, I think, is a reasonably priced workhorse sock yarn. I'd call it a 3. Gosh, beautiful. And I did not citric wash this because it's only this color in the hat. So if it does bleed, it's not going to cause any issues with mixing with other yarns. I've not had a lot of trouble with Malabrigo bleeding, but just in case anybody wanted to ask me, did you not learn your lesson with the last red that you with? Oh, yes, I did. With therapy, and I'm over that.
Yeah.
So that is the Musselburgh by Ysolda Tig. Very popular right now. It's a takeoff of a hat from World War II, I think. So.
Oh, wow. Very nice.
Very nice. Okay. So those are the only 2 active things I'm working on other than Tenacity continues, right? Was there anything else?
Are you still working on Vintage Prim, or did you finish that?
Oh, it's finished. But I started another one. Does that count? I didn't bring it. So I'm teaching that class online just with my friends. And interesting, I'll talk about that because I decided to try it in DK. Because it's in fingering initially. And I don't know what I was thinking. I literally kept everything the same and just changed to DK yarn. That hat was 28 inches in circumference. I could have just kept going and it would have been a beautiful cowl. So then I had to do some research.
Put it over the back of a tire on a Jeep.
You know? That's about how big it was. And God bless the ladies who are doing this class with me. Not only are they brilliant knitters, they're now learning increases and decreases in brioche. And it's just a step-by-step process. And to do it online with the use of a document camera, they were able to follow along and they asked great questions. And it'll be fun to see their hats when they get those done. So those, yeah. Next week, I'll have a few more cast-ons, I think, just because of all the knit-alongs that are starting. So, All right. Well, what is
Absolutely.
off your needles?
Well, I have two items off my needles. Of course, you all witnessed the frogging of the antler toque in episode 61. It is now complete. And by golly, you know what? I'm glad I did it, Dawn, because if you don't like it now, you're not going to like it in 20 rows. And of course, it was an error on my part. I repeated one row twice. And so it changed the look of it.
Oh,
This is a free pattern by Tin Can Knits.
look at that.
I have to tell you, they're just so gracious and generous. Anyway, I knit it in Plymouth Encore because I wanted my hats I give away. So I wanted so they can throw it in the washing machine. I knit it on size 6 1/8. It earns a single $sign on the Frugalometer for both. And I knit that hat using a different technique for cables. The original one, the first time I knit the hat, I was pinching the stitches and I thought it distorted the fabric a little bit. The second time I tried a technique that Miss Jen showed, I did not find that to be easy for me. It's doable, but it wasn't easy for me. I worked it through the hat, but I ended up, I don't know. I had to concentrate too much. So I tried both ways. The next project I may try another technique so I can just knit those 4-stitch cables without a cable needle. But thanks, Jen, for showing me that technique. I appreciate it. I'm just going to keep experimenting, I think.
So cables without a needle. And then did you do the pattern as written with the same repeats, or did you leave out a repeat? I can't remember. I know that you had talked about that.
I did leave out a repeat at the end.
Yeah.
I did. I felt like it was tall enough. And I wanted it so that you could flip up the brim.
Yeah.
And it be more of a beanie and a toque rather than a slouch. I'm not a fan of slouchy hats. And I've knit a couple for people. And I don't know that fad is going to stick around. It might, but more people appreciate the ones that I knit for, appreciate a better fitting hat. So
yeah, and I think a pom-pom.
Oh, maybe. I definitely am not going to use a yarn pom-pom on this. I might have to use one of those fake fur like we get online.
Well, yeah, and otherwise that cable is spectacular.
It is. Thank you. Everyone's hat. It was our Frivolous and Frugal hat knit along, Cal. So you're welcome to go to that thread in Ravelry and you'll see all sorts of pictures. So
yeah, there's some beautiful ones there too.
Yeah. So what's off your needles?
Well, I finished the copycat hat.
Yay, you did.
By Heather Maid. Okay, so she contacted me on Ravelry. She's a designer out of Australia, and she thanked us for using this pattern. It was a delight. The yarn is Rose Hill Farms. That's a Canadian yarn in their tweed DK base, and the color is frozen.
Very pretty.
It is nice yarn. And this is not a tight hat. So I really like the look of it, but when you put it on, it's not super huggy. And I think some people may like that, or if they have more hair. Donna likes this. So I'm gonna give it to Donna. And she asked for a pom-pom, but not as big as the big white pom-pom I did for Nikki.
She doesn't like 7-inch pom-poms? Why? I can't be. Miss Donna, what's up?
Pulled out a bigger one, but not quite 7 inches, but it was smaller than this one. I would definitely do this pattern again. I followed the pattern as written, and it was using I have to look here, a size 5 and a size 6. It's a free pattern, so I gave that a 1 on the Frugalometer. That's an indie dyed yarn, so I gave that 3 on the Frugalometer.
Very nice.
Yeah, and I know tweed's the rage right now, and I can't say I'm a huge tweed fan, but I do like it in this hat. So I'm happy with the yarn and the pattern.
I think it provides a bit of dimension.
Yeah. Very good.
Cool. And the second thing that's off my needles and finally blocked is Wingspan, as you can see. And Dawn was so kind and gracious to do this when we went back home for our niece's graduation, Miss Brianna, whom you all know, and her brother's graduation. And so the three of us blocked this in my hotel room. And I'm going to describe the process and then Dawn jump in and correct me, okay? So as you know, it was an indie dyed yarn and it was bleeding on my hands while I was knitting it. So we knew we were going to be in for a challenge when it came to soaking and blocking it. So what we did is we sent Dawn's dear husband out to get vinegar for us because we thought we better try to set the yarn with vinegar first. Well, we put it in the yarn. It didn't budge. That yarn, that water did not change. It was as clear as could be, and we let it soak. And we only put in the purples and the blues. So we thought, hey, we're set and we're golden. Let's just go ahead and do it in what we used was Eucalyptus, and did not use a whole bunch, followed the instructions, did it the way it was, we were told to. And we were just sitting there chatting and it all looked well. We kind of eked it in the sink slowly because if we had a bleed, we wanted to try and salvage the garment. And we did not have a bleed. We had, what do you call it, Dawn? We had a hemorrhage. Yeah. We had a hemorrhage. And this is just one color catcher. And what happened was that was in the water. God, how long would you think, Dawn?
I bet 3 minutes? Yep, 3 or 4 minutes. The water was clear. And then all of a sudden it just turned just bright blue.
Yeah. And this is just one color catcher, filled it up. And literally it was a 2-person job because I had to hold up this part of the shawl so it did not get bled on, while Dawn and Brianna ran the bottom part under cool water to rinse it. I bet we rinsed for every bit of 15 minutes, if not 20 minutes. Would you agree, Dawn?
I would definitely agree. And it just was blue, purple. I mean, it was vivid. There was
we lost a lot of dye.
Yeah.
And while you may not see it, if you were in person, we lost a lot of color too. Yeah. It faded pretty significantly. And so and even when we stopped rinsing, it was not completely clear. I mean, there was still a hint of that bluish purple in there. So I'm very thankful we did it because I would have been devastated if my daughter-in-law had been wearing it over a white blouse or a white sweater and had hit the rain, or for some reason it got damp and started bleeding on her clothes. That would have just crushed me. So anyway, here it is. It's blocked. We stretched it. It's not quite the dimensions on the pattern. And as I told you, I didn't have enough yarn in the skein and my gauge matches. So I don't know what went wrong there. But, and we also noticed this, there is a dye line all the way through the garment. Mm-hmm. Now you probably can't see it, but I'll post pictures on my project page. There's a dye line for the blue. It is obvious. It is undeniable. And we didn't see that until we blocked it. So I have a hunch my daughter-in-law is going to be gracious and it won't bother her a bit.
No,
I don't think it will. However, it was, yeah, it just, I don't know, very, can I just say anticlimactic. Now, I would knit that pattern again. I would knit it. I would just choose a different fiber. So,
yeah,
I don't know. What would you like to add?
No, I think it's beautiful. I just think we live the agony, right? And so I really thought when it was in the Eucalyptus water for 3 minutes and it was clear that I over exaggerated the whole process. I was so worried about bleeding. So I would love to know the chemistry behind why did it take 3 minutes to break the color? And when it broke, wow. And now, you would have thought that the vinegar would have set it.
And that's how I've used it. I've used the same process for all my other yarns, did not have any bleeding. I contacted the dyer.
Oh, you
So
did?
I am excited. I did. And I'm hoping, sent her some pictures. And then hopefully she can give us some insight as to what happened there. I don't want to repeat that again. And unfortunately, my daughter-in-law is going to have to bring this to me to block every time.
Yeah.
I mean, for her, not unfortunately for me, but unfortunately for her.
Yeah, because of the feathers. And so that was a good lesson to block, because we were able, the three of us, to block it. And that is so much easier than one person going back and forth and back and forth. So it didn't take us long to block it, and it didn't take long to dry. But it was a good process for Brianna to see what an aggressive block looks like. And I couldn't use the weed whacker cord and some of the other things I normally do because of that scalloped edge. So we just did it with blocking pins. So, and straight pins. Yeah, so that is a huge project done for you. Yeah,
it sure is. So what else is off your needles?
All right, let's do a little vintage prim by Andrea Mowry. This is a online class I taught too. Oh, there's some, there it is.
Dawn.
Yep. And the blocking took care of some of my issues. So I wish they'd make these styrofoam heads. Yeah, there's the back. Can't say I'm a fan of that, but yeah,
you're going to knit it again. Can you change the back?
I tried doing it in garter, but it pulled it.
Oh, it did.
Yeah. So I'm going to guess that's exactly why they did garter. Yeah. So the two yarns, the blue is a heritage sock in the marine colorway. The gray is sweet fiber. And they're singles fingering weight. That is the, I can't remember the colorway for that.
Birch.
Oh, birch. Yeah. So interesting, a high twist yarn and a singles, the singles bloomed a little bit. Now, if you're saying, Dawn, there's holes, you are absolutely right. That is a brioche design element. So that really is not a mistake, because I tried like the Dickens to make it go away. Fingering weight hat. Let me see if I can put it on. Hold on. How she has it is where the brioche is off to the side. This is horrible. And I would tend to wear it with the brioche to the center. Oh, now my hair is going to be really bad.
It is. I can't wait to see it. Oh, neither can everyone else. Oh, no.
Oh, how lovely. Yeah. Look at those gray roots. Oof. Okay. And of course, brioche is reversible. So there it is on the other side.
I think it's pretty too, Dawn, on both sides.
Yeah. So I'm going to try it in DK to see if it makes a warmer hat.
There you go.
And I'm just using leftover yarn that from my last Melanie Berg shawl. So Frugalometer, I'd give it a 3 for the pattern, and I would give it a, here's where I do the 2.75. I think heritage sock is reasonable, but sweet fiber was an indie dyed yarn, so I'd call it a 3.
All right.
3 and a 3.
That's fair enough.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Another finished project is a Kofo. You've never seen this. Okay. All right. I'm gonna have to take my headset off again, maybe, or maybe I can go over. That probably sounds lovely. There we go.
Wasn't bad.
This is a shawl collar cowl. It's a pattern by Elena Dakos. Is she never not knitting? I think that's her.
Oh, company. I don't know. But do you know that I knit that? If you go to my project page, I have 2 or 3 in there.
Get out.
No, well, that's true.
What did you knit it with?
Oh, years ago.
Really?
I bought the hard copy pattern from somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a paid for pattern on Ravelry. And the yarn I used is Fibre Company Tundra in the Blue Lagoon. Now it says Blue Lagoon. It really is green. And again, there was a shop model at Silver Thimble and they wanted me to teach the class. I just thought I better knit it before I teach it. This is a great cowl for new knitters, beginning knitters. It's a lot of ribbing, but the collar is made using short rows and not a crazy amount of short rows. So what a nice first pattern. And then of course I just had these buttons in my button jar. They remind me of abalone. I don't know if that's even a thing anymore. Now, what I learned from the gal who knit it, Miss Tina, this edge here tends to pop. So look what I did. Let's see if I can get out. I added a snap.
Oh, look it.
So let me
Very
pull it
nice.
on. Because it kept gaping for her. So I just went to Joann Fabrics and bought a snap. And then I just, sure I did. What did I do with them? Otherwise, it tends to gape. And I didn't want it to gape. So.
Nice.
Now we'll see if that stands the test of time or if it stretches. But yeah, that's just a very simple ribbing pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And then the short rows. This is lovely yarn. And here's the problem I have with it. You needed 2 skeins. Look how much I had left of the second one. Not enough to do another one. I wonder if that's enough to do one of those headbands, that woven cable headband.
Mm-hmm.
So they have lovely colors in this too. There's some grays, pinks, navies. The ivory is spectacular. So yeah, the Shaw Collared Cowl by Elena. Why can't I say that? Elena Dacos.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd give, boy, the yarn's got to go 3, if not a 4. And Nan gave me the pattern. It's Silver Thimble. So.
Oh, that was a nice gift.
I would call that a 1. I think that would look great underneath a coat.
Yes.
So did you give yours as gifts then?
I believe I did. Yes, I did actually. Mm-hmm. Years ago.
I did not know you did this. I should have.
It's on my project page and I can't even remember which fiber I used. The yarn was way too busy. I remember that. You really don't get a nice look at the shawl collar. I knit it, and quite honestly, I wish I'd have been a little bit more forward thinking and I'd put snaps in it because it does droop down. That's what it does. It shifts.
Had I not talked to Tina, I would have had no idea. And I just bought a card with 4 of those snaps on it at Joann Fabrics.
Mm-hmm.
So, and those were 1-inch buttons. Now, simple buttonholes. So I thought that was nice. If you really just wanted it for show, you could tack that whole thing down and then just put that over your head.
Well, I will tell you, I'd have to go into my show notes. Or not my show notes, my project notes. I think I did tack one down. I absolutely think I did. Literally, I did not even make buttonholes.
Oh yeah, so that would make sense.
I mean, it's faux looking I think I'd have to go back and look.
That yarn is, this Fibre Company yarn is spectacular.
That's what I made all those faux ball hats.
Yes, I love that pattern. I did that too. 60% alpaca, 30% wool, 10% silk, 120 yards. But yeah, there's the Fibre Co.
Mm-hmm.
I think Plymouth has a very bulky yarn that would be similar, that may be a little more cost effective.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so that'll be a fun class. I'm not doing that class till August because this will be more of a fall kind of thing. So let the record reflect, I have something done for an August class. Like that's never happened. I don't have stuff ready for my summer class that starts next week. But I think that is all that's on my.
Well, it's all that we have on the show notes. So
yeah.
I think you did a very nice job.
So tell me what you've been learning.
Actually, mine has to do with what would Nikki say. So essentially, I am just trying to make sure I cultivate an attitude of gratitude for help along the way with projects such as this. And I owe a lot of thanks to you and Miss Brianna for helping me block it. And I think that's so important that we are grateful for people who help us along the way. And especially those designers who are willing to give you guidance as you're going through a project. So yeah, just a reminder for me to continue to cultivate that type of a attitude. And what about you? What are you learning?
Well, I have several things, but maybe I'll just talk about one this week and one next week. So, okay, yet another profound statement. If Visa calls, say yes. So after last Saturday's virtual knit together in the morning, it was brought to our attention that La Bien-Aimée, a lovely yarn from Paris, was on sale. How gracious. They even told us what the code was. So Brianne and I at the hotel started putting things in the cart. And we kind of went off to the graduation party, forgot about it. We're driving back home on Sunday. Steve's driving, listening to NASCAR. Austin's in the back playing Xbox or whatever. So I'm on my phone. I'm thinking, ooh, I forgot about La Bien-Aimée. So I look at it and pricey yarn, right? This pegs my frugalometer, no doubt. So I had way too many skeins in there. So I started putting some out. So I finally get it down to 4 skeins. And I do the buy now button. Of course, you think I'd have done the euro conversion, but okay. So I don't even tell Steve nothing. So I'm just going on. Next thing you know, his phone rings and it's a number that comes up that he doesn't know. So he doesn't answer it. It couldn't have been another 2 or 3 miles and my phone rings and it's a number I don't know. I don't correlate the 2 calls, right? So they both go to voicemail. Well, he's driving, so I get my voicemail. It's the credit union putting a hold on my Visa for suspicious activity. So now I'm in a quandary because I need to call him back to say it's not suspicious, but I don't want Steve to know what I just said. So I get this young man on the phone and he was delightful. So he wants to make sure that I just recently made a purchase with PayPal. I said yes. I'm hoping he doesn't ask me the amount that I have to say it out loud. Of course, I said, well, yes, it was yarn and it was from a company in Paris. He wanted to know if I felt coerced.
No.
Oh, not
yes,
remotely.
by Carol. Oh.
Oh, yes, by Carol and by Barbara, yes. So, yes. And then he laughed and he said the dollar amount. And I said, oh, yes. He said, your husband's right there, isn't he? Why? You are very astute. Yes, he is. And yes, that is the amount. And so he reactivated my account. So if Visa funny. Calls, say yes. I did tell Steve how much I bought. We just play this game all the time. Like I think he has no idea. But no, I have no idea how long it'll take that yarn to get here. But when it comes, I will be sure to say. So yes, in the enabling, ooh, that has got to stop. I spent way too much money this week in yarn.
Okay, so let me give you another lesson. Yeah. Just say no.
I know. And when people double dog dare me, I need to say no. But that'll go into what's coming up because we've been challenged, I guess is a good word, to do some projects with other people who want to knit projects. So that is what I'm learning. If Visa calls, say yes.
Good job. Well, I do have to tell you, Dawn just led us into a nice segue. Frivolous and Frugal is busy. And can I just say this? I just need to hear myself say it. And maybe some of our viewers do too. Trust me, no pressure. If this is not in your knitting plan, don't feel like you have to join us. That's what I'm saying to myself because much of this is not on my knitting plan for the year. So please, no pressure, no guilt, no coercion, okay? Now, if you do need us to write a note to your husband or Visa, we'll be happy to do that. We have several knit-alongs going on right now. We have the ongoing Finish, Fix, Flip, or Frogget cowl. And I have to tell you, during Knitting with the Aunties, the ladies drew a winner. And this episode's winner for that is Norma G. For post 1930, they were scrappy socks for your daughter. I believe I have your address, Miss Norma, so I will be sending you your gift. Our next giveaway for the Finish, Fix, Flip, or Frogget cowl is going to be episode 66. Also, we had another drawing for a giveaway, and that is for the sweet little nothing cowl that is going on and being moderated with great support by Miss Pink. Our winner for this episode is 904 Stephanie. She was post number 68. And she is using Yarn Bee Authentic. So here's what you need to do, Miss Stephanie. You need to send your mailing address to Dawn, either via email or you can do it through Ravelry, one or the other. Or if you send it to me, I can also ship out your gift. So thank you so much for participating, ladies, in those knit-alongs. We also have the new June hat knit along that just kicked off at the beginning of this month. And we are knitting the Oslo hat by Petite Knit. So, well, look who just might have that. So as you can see, very much like the Musselburgh. All right, so if you're interested, please join us in that. There's a thread going that Dawn started in Ravelry. You are welcome to post your pictures. Yes.
There's two versions of this hat. They're both separate. They're both paid for. This is the mohair version. There's one without mohair.
So you chose the mohair version, right?
And what do you call that? Like the hem you're doing on Jessie's sweater?
Called a folded hem.
That's a folded hem. So a very deep folded hem, and it looks nice. Yeah. So.
And I will tell you, those folded hems are very warm.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Sure.
And then if you are knitting with us for our ornament cowl, this June's ornament cowl pattern is the personalized bauble ornament by Anna Wadler. So please, or Wadler, please join in that cowl as well. We will probably pick prizes for those maybe in the next week or two. We're hoping to get some of those out. And then I'm going to mention these and let Dawn fill in the backstory if she'd like. By virtue of Double Dog Dare / knit-alongs, we are beginning on June 1st. So if you're a couple of days late, it doesn't matter. We are going to knit the Shoulder Cozy by Church Mouse Yarn and Tees, Dawn. So we are doing, I guess you have some options, right?
Yeah.
The shrug, or
now, if you showed me that, I would have gone, oh, okay. But look at that cowl.
Yes.
Now, same pattern, blows me away. So I'm doing the cowl. This is a paid for pattern. It's in mohair. Two skeins of Rowan Kids Okays. Norma, I think, was the one who double dog dared us.
I believe it was.
She said of all the things she's ever knit, that's what she wears the most, that cowl. If it's cold, you can double it around. You knit it till you're happy with the length of it. It is on a US 13. You know how fast that's going to go?
It is. So is it mohair held double?
No, single. Now, this pattern here is two. It's a mohair along with another yarn. So it's a little bit thicker. But Norma said she just did hers all in mohair, single. So it's very light and very wispy, I guess, is that a word? And I'm just hoping something I can throw on with a lot of different outfits. So.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I wanted to do it in a silvery gray, but they didn't have that when I went to get it. So I picked another Rowan yarn that's a really light alpaca. So it's a new yarn to me, very hairy, like, like KnitCircus. So I'll let you know. Now, the other thing, I never know if I'm saying too much about a paid for pattern. You see where the shoulders come in a little bit right here? I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that decrease because I want it as a cowl. So whatever this dimension is, that's what I'm going to do. And then just keep going till I'm out of yarn.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So here's where I have to trust the person who's knit the pattern, because I would never have bought it looking at this.
I wouldn't have either.
But when I hear somebody who's been knitting for many, many years say it's the thing she wears the most, why would I not pay attention to that? And pick your yarn. Oh my gosh, it doesn't have to be mohair. It could be Siri, alpaca. It could just be a really light fingering, or if you have a lovely lace that you have at home. A US 13. Whew. Yeah.
Very good. So feel free to join us in that. Dawn has already set up a thread in Ravelry. She also has a thread for our other cowl that's going to begin July 1st. And that is going to be, I don't know how we got roped into this one, just for the record, Vertices Unite by Stephen West. I know how we did. We are all going to try to, not all of us, we're going to use it as a stash buster, right? Yeah. And so it's really a schlanket, or which is kind of like a shawl and a blanket. So it can be anything you want it to be. So if you're looking for a stash buster, this might be a project you could consider. So we are going to start that on July 1st. And I'm sure we'll mention it in upcoming episodes, but feel free to join us for that one as well.
Yeah,
anything you want to say about that?
5 colors. Susie from Las Vegas showed us hers. Oh my goodness. So I'm going to use it as a stash buster. I'm not going to buy yarn. And for anybody who's even interested in its construction, the last podcast from the Fiber Hustle guys, actually, you need to watch it, because Stephen West talks to them about that shawl and how to pick your colors. It was brilliant. It's just a couple of minutes. I think it's like 11 and a half minutes into that podcast. But Stephen West talks about the 4 colors or the 5 colors, but which colors need to play with each other.
So what was the name of that podcast again?
The Fiber Hustle.
Okay.
Yeah. And because somebody else posted in that thread to watch that. So I did. So yeah, stash buster. There's a small size and a large size. But in the words of Stephen West, just knit the large one.
Why wouldn't you? Right? Why wouldn't you?
That's going to be more than a 1 month cowl. I bet that's going to end up being 3 or 4 months, because that's a lot of knitting. So
absolutely.
So I'm excited about both.
Oh, I'm sorry. I spoke over you again. I'm sorry. One last thing before we bring this episode to a close, and that is our July 30, 31, 31st meetup in Chicago, or Hoffman Estates, is active on Ravelry. That thread has the code for you to reserve your rooms at a discount. So remember, they've only reserved 20 rooms. After that, it's just on a space available basis to get the discount. So if you're interested in joining us for a Friday night, all day Saturday knit together meetup, please get that done. And if you have any questions, it's probably best to post them on the thread so that others can see, and possibly you might be answering somebody else's question as well. Anything you want to add to that, Dawn?
Somebody did ask if you have to stay at the hotel. Absolutely not. If you're a local and just want to come knit with us either day, part of the day, all day, there is no obligation whatsoever to stay at the hotel.
Nor is there any catering or fancy decorations or doodads on your bed. No, this is just, we're meeting to knit. Okay.
Okay. Maybe our swag bags will be a snack size Ziploc bag with a bread tie.
At the max. We're not going to do that, Dawn, because we don't want this to take any energy away from our knitting, right? Nor do we want to set a standard that we have to maintain. Okay. So no, if you're looking to be catered to and you're looking to be fussed over, this is not a meetup for you. You'll have to choose something else.
Oh, how fun.
Oh, well, I just have to tell you, Nikki said something today for this week that was very appropriate for me. So this is what Nikki would say. Oh, but before I do that, she would say, Penny, you forgot to announce the next virtual knit togethers. And she would be right. So if you would like to join us for our June virtual knit night, we are going to be meeting from 7 to 9 Central Standard Time on Saturday, the June 12th. So please join us. As usual, we will keep the link or get the link posted about an hour before the event starts. And if you're new to our podcast and you don't understand our virtual events, they are 2 hours of chalk-packed knitting. That's all we talk about is our knitting. We invite you to show what is on your needles or off your needles. We invite you to pose questions. We invite you to ask for feedback. And if you have resources, share those, because what we do after each event is we post notes with links so that if you saw a pattern you really liked but you can't remember the name of it, we are pretty good about grabbing the names of each of those items that are mentioned. So those will usually be posted within a couple days after the event. If you are not on Ravelry, then please send me your email address and I will include you in our mass emailing. We do use Zoom, so we always start each event by giving you just a little reminder and a review of courtesies while we're on Zoom and why we mute you when you come into the room and how to navigate Zoom. And then we also will always say this: choose your own level of participation. We do not strong arm anyone into sharing or speaking. That's totally up to you. Well, unless we feel like we have to call them out for a double dog dare, a little bit maybe. But if you're new, we'll really try not to do that the first time. So please join us on the 12th. And if you're not available on the evening of the 12th, you might find our Saturday morning virtual knit together something that suits your calendar. We will be meeting on June 26th, we think, right now. So just keep that as a tentative date from 10 till noon Central Standard Time for our morning date. So again, same basic framework as I just mentioned. And we always post and mention this in our show notes as well. So if you really want the details, that would be the best place to get them. Did I mention anything or miss anything on that, Dawn?
Nope, just a reminder, our recording's just a little off for the summer. So we may be a few days late. So no worries about that. We'll get it up as soon as we can.
Yeah. And actually, Dawn, I'm glad you mentioned that because it's right back here. I was just going to remind everyone, our summer has gotten busy right before our very eyes. So it is likely that we may not podcast every week. And as much as we'd like to tell you ahead of time, we may not know ahead of time. So please just be gracious with us and we'll get those posted when we can. Also, an honorable mention. I would like to make an honorable mention to my dear sister Dawn and my sweet sister niece Miss Brianna for helping me with Wingspan. I think oftentimes your help, Dawn, especially goes unrecognized because you're very gracious. You're a wonderful teacher, great supporter and encourager, and yeah, you get honorable mention this week. Okay, and Miss
I'll sit up straighter.
Thank you very much. Look like you're going to get an award, would you please? Okay. Anyway, Miss Brianna, thank you, darling, too, for your encouragement and your willingness to help with that. I certainly appreciate it. And what would Nikki say? Well, you've been waiting with bated breath, so here it is. When you have finished a project, a lesson, or a round of golf, remember to thank those who helped you to accomplish this task.
That is so true.
That is beautiful.
Yep, that was perfect.
Thank you, sis. We appreciate it. And as always, we are so thankful you made time to watch us again this week. And we look forward to seeing you in episode 63. And until then, we're hoping your week is a sweet twist of the frivolous and frugal. Have a wonderful fiber-filled week. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.